Hey Rick, how are you?
Good, Megan. How about you?
I'm doing well. I'm here, always trying to come up with great things to tell people about and help educate people, in the future for their
Yeah.
home purchases and that sort of thing. So I wanted to talk about today the Mills Act. And so for people that have not heard of the Mills Act before, it is something that is I think it's only in California. And the Mills Act is named after a person, Mr. Mills, and it is a historic property tax credit. It's not a rebate, a refund, it's a credit for maintaining your historic home. It's a pretty hot commodity because the savings from your taxes are typically property taxes, about 60%. It's pretty
Yeah,
significant.
it's huge. Yeah, we've seen some big savings there. Big savings.
Especially with home prices the way that they are, any savings monthly makes a big impact.
Yeah, and I think this one with Mills Act that property taxes don't change; they stay the same. Is that correct?
Yeah. So in Anaheim, where I am, so Tim and I, we have gotten the Mills Act. We've had 7 properties over the last couple of decades that we've gotten the Mills Act on, and I've sold, a lot of properties with the
Yeah.
Mills Act, and so I can tell you how it works. So, in order to get the Mills Act, you have to be in a city that has adapted the Mills Act. And so it's not every city, but in North Orange County, obviously it's Anaheim. Anaheim, I think we have 418 contracts now. We're like the third largest contract holders in the state as far as the
Wow.
cities go. City of Orange obviously has the Mills Act contracts. I heard that they are on hold right now. I don't know what that's all about, so somebody has to verify. And that's another thing. If you think you're buying a house that qualifies for the Mills Act versus a house that already has the Mills Act, you need to contact the preservation office in whatever city that you're shopping in and double check the address to make sure that it'll qualify because not every house qualifies, okay? So, Anaheim, Orange, Santa Ana, Fullerton has a Mills Act program, Laguna Beach, San Clemente, San Juan Capistrano, Dana Point, Huntington Beach, they have Mills Act. It also says here, yeah, Brea, Tusta, and Costa Mesa,
Oh, great.
and
Okay. Now,
and
Tustin
Irvine.
has a
So
small
there's a
section
lot of
there.
Mills
Uh
Act.
huh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Um,
Good to know.
so the beautiful thing is, if you buy a house that has the Mills Act, your property taxes, like I said, they could be reduced up to 60%. And it's even more if you buy a house that they got the Mills Act 20 years ago, so their property taxes are even less than 60% of what you would have paid now. If the property taxes were 3,300 a month and you're paying 1,000,001 for the property, you inherit not 33 a month, 3,300 a year.
A
You
year.
inherit the 3,300 a year with little to no
Not
change
12,000.
and no supplemental tax bill. Because typically, when you buy a house, it takes a tax assessor a few months to catch up to the fact that you've bought the house and now the property taxes are going to be more because when you pay property taxes you pay them in arrears, right? So it's
Right.
kind
Right.
of a sticky situation when you do all this property tax transfer stuff. But with the Mills Act, you get the previous owner's property taxes with little to no change. You get no supplemental tax bill, and so it is like a very coveted deal to have the Mills Act on a property. And some of the old timers around here, they're like, oh, I've got, Prop 13. My taxes are low. They're not going up. Why would I get the Mills Act? It's like, well, first of all, we sure hope you get the Mills Act because you have a cool house that you would like to keep historically accurate. The second reason is when you do sell the house someday, or when you pass on and somebody else sells the house one day, or one of your relatives buys the house one day, they will get the property tax savings that you have. So
There you go.
if you sold it to the general public, it would sell for a heck of a lot more than if it didn't have the Mills Act. Okay? So, just a quick note about what the commitment is for a Mills Act contract. It's in Anaheim anyway, I don't know about everywhere else, but in Anaheim it's a 10-year agreement, okay? So every 10 years it renews automatically unless you put it in writing that you are canceling your Mills Act contract.
Wow.
What happens
Okay.
when you cancel your Mills Act contract? It takes 10 years to cancel it. And in those 10 years, they start to increase the property taxes so that by the 10th year, you're back at regular
Market.
property taxes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so in Anaheim, we've had one cancellation of the Mills Act, and it was for a commercial building that they wanted to do whatever they wanted with. We've never canceled anybody's, no matter how much trouble they've gotten themselves into, which I've seen some pretty sticky stuff, but nobody's been canceled yet. But with Anaheim, they just want you to maintain the exterior of your property to its historic nature. They don't want you to change wood windows for vinyl windows or wood siding for stucco siding. So it's, they don't want you to put artificial turf in or vinyl fencing, things like that. But always, of course, check with Historic Preservation Office and double check to make sure that when you're buying a Mills Act house that it's in compliance, first of all. Sometimes, like in Anaheim, we have quite a few that are not in compliance because of COVID and everything. The inspections got really behind. So so make sure it's in compliance, that there's not any outstanding work, and just always do your due diligence, check with the city, that sort of thing, because people that are buying Mills Act houses, I mean, I've had some phenomenal sales this year on houses that already had the Mills Act. I mean, they're selling for a really pretty penny. Yeah, they're selling for a lot of money, a lot more than a house that did not have the Mills Act. And of course, there's always other circumstances, condition, location. Is the neighbor, is it a pride of ownership neighborhood, or is it like mayhem? What is exactly the situation? But it's really looking like, the Mills Act houses are selling for at least minimum 10% more than houses that don't have the Mills Act. It's real significant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
that's a lot.
Yeah, if somebody wants to buy a house, like I said, and they can get the Mills Act, there's no limit in the state of Anaheim of how many. Well, I think there is a limit of how many we can approve a year, but I don't think we've ever gotten that close. But it's a process. It takes about a year and a half from between when you have the city come out and inspect, and you write a story on the house. You talk about its architectural and its cultural significance, and then by the time you're approved and by the time your taxes are actually reduced, it's about a year and a half process.
Oh, okay. Well, if the
So-
savings are that big, it's not that long of a time frame considering how much you're saving annually on the taxes once you get that approved.
Yeah, exactly. And then,
Yeah.
Rick, when somebody's buying a house that has a Mills Act, and let's say they're not buying it with a conventional loan, they have a non-conventional loan. They have an FHA loan or something like that. And you typically have to collect how many months of taxes ahead of time? 6 or 9 months or something?
Usually it's between 3 and 9. Depends on when the next tax installment is due. So it depends on when month you close escrow, but typically on average around 6 months of taxes are closing on average.
Yeah. And since the Mills Act isn't a real common thing, there's got to be a way, which I'm aware of, to educate. Who do we have to educate? The processor or the underwriters?
Well, the underwriter. Yeah, and the processor too, because sometimes processors don't understand it. Of course, mine do, we know that. But there's a process, and so sometimes, let's say, for example, $1 million house, the new taxes, if it was not a Mills Act house, that's going to be about $1,100 a month in taxes, versus in our experience, Mills Act houses are maybe $300 a month or less in some cases. That's a huge spread, right? So when a processor or underwriter sees, hey, what's the point with these taxes here? Well, we explain to them it's Mills Act, and sometimes you have to kind of educate the processor, but really more importantly, the underwriter, and what that means and how that works. So if you know how to do that, and we do because we do those, we have a lot of success with buyers actually buying that home from day one with that Mills Act tax rate and not having to get it later on after it catches up with it. So that's a huge benefit, by the way, for buyers at closing with us. 100%.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because you really have to have a method in which to provide the information that the underwriter and then the processor needs to understand what we're doing here. And there is a method to do it, and it's something that you learn after quite a while of being in the business. So if anybody wants to know what that method is, or if they get stuck, they can message me. But I'm not going to spill all my beans right here. But so the Mills Act, it's great for preserving the neighborhood, preserving history, preserving the streetscape, so that you know that you're in a different special place. It's also great for saving money in return for keeping up your house. By the way, too, here's another issue that has come up, is that sometimes the houses, when you first get the Mills Act, you have a 10-year plan, and it's a plan of things that you're supposed to do for the first 10 years, self-explanatory. But if you're buying a house that has had the Mills Act for less than 10 years, you might want to get a copy of that 10-year plan, just so you can see what the owner said that they would do to maintain their Mills Act.
Well, another benefit of the Mills Act houses, and from our experience, Megan, is that those houses are really some of the best houses on the street. They maintain their integrity, their look, with the historic preservation. So those houses have been really, really well maintained and taken care of. So they tend to be more of a pride of ownership home in many cases.
Agreed.
Yeah.
All right, Rick. Well, I appreciate you. Thanks for coming on
Megan.
today and talking about the Mills Act. And we will get the information out to the people. And if anybody has any questions, anything they want us to cover, you can shoot us a message. We'll be happy to cover it for you.
For sure.
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you, Megan. Appreciate it. See you later.